Metzl is a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council and served on the National Security Council during the Clinton administration. Jeremy, good to see you.
Nice to see you, John.
Okay, so this fits into what you've been saying for a very long time, your theories and your thoughts about the origins of this coronavirus. Here's a sample of how this story has been covered over the past 24 hours. From CNN, assessment, COVID-19 leaked from Chinese lab is a minority view within US intel community. The lab leak theory was a victim of left-wing culture wars, says the National Review. The Wall Street Journal, which first broke this story, White House says no consensus on COVID origin. And before this new information was uncovered, the US intelligence community had a theory. They believe that the two hypotheses are plausible: natural exposure to an infected animal and a laboratory-associated incident. What is notable, though, is that when the other agencies saw the new information, none of them changed their conclusion within the intelligence community. So, answer me this. Is there any benefit from this new revelation, this new information? Does it bring any clarity to where the virus actually came from?
There's a benefit. It brings a little bit more information. In my view, it continues the process from the early days where everybody, for some reason, seemed to know without evidence it came from the market, to increasing acceptance that it may very well have come from a lab. The Department of Energy oversees the U.S. national laboratories like Lawrence Livermore National Lab. They have in their employment some of the top scientists in the world. So it's very significant that the Department of Energy has shifted its view from it's a jump ball to it probably comes from a lab. But this is not completely transformative. And that's why we need a comprehensive investigation into pandemic origins, including a bipartisan national COVID-19 committee. We need stronger investigation at the international level through the World Health Organization, because it's really important to get to the bottom of how this crisis began so that we can be better able to prevent future ones.
And getting to the bottom of how this all began requires cooperation from China. With that in mind, I want to go through part of what Mao Ning, spokesperson for the Foreign Ministry, said in Beijing on Monday. China has always actively supported and participated in global science-based origin tracing. Really? Since when? She goes on explaining why the lab leak theory is very unlikely. It is an authoritative scientific conclusion. No, it's not. Drawn by joint experts from China and the World Health Organization on the basis of field visits to relevant laboratories in Wuhan. Those visits were directed and controlled every step of the way by those ever-present government minders. She goes on, and in-depth exchanges with relevant scientific researchers. They were never allowed to speak in private to anyone from that WHO delegation. You know, this constant reference to the joint report between China and the World Health Organization, research trip, what do you want to call it? It was a glorified dog and pony show. And at moments like this, it gives Beijing this chance to say, nothing to hide. We've gone through this all before. We've done everything we possibly can. That's the harm that was done by that trip.
Well, I agree. I feel like whatever it's called, the Washington Nationals, that troop that used to, the team that used to travel around with the Harlem Globetrotters, so the Harlem Globetrotters could dribble around and show off. I agree with everything that you just said, John. That joint study process controlled by the Chinese government was an absolute sham. On February 9, 2021, there was a press conference in Wuhan. It was really one of the absolute low points of international public health, where this small group of independent experts basically parroted Chinese propaganda points. But to the great credit of the World Health Organization and Dr. Tedros Adhanom, the Director General, 2 days later, he essentially rejected the statements that were made in Wuhan on February 9th and said, all hypotheses are on the table. And that's why the World Health Organization abolished that joint study process and created a new entity, the Scientific Advisory Group on investigating the origins of novel pathogens, SAGO, that is now trying at least to do more. But you're exactly right. At least that little voice over your shoulder was exactly right. China is doing everything possible to prevent any meaningful investigation into pandemic origins.
I want you to listen to the State Department spokesperson on what the US State Department would like China to do. Here's Ned Price.
We would wish to see from the PRC a greater degree of responsibility, a greater acknowledgement that it's in the interest of the Chinese people, yes, to better understand the origins of COVID-19, but it's in the interest of people around the world to understand the origins of COVID-19.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
John, can I do like a yawn? Like put a little yawn emoji here? Like that was very nice. It's very polite. here's what we need to be saying. This is an absolute outrage that China is preventing a comprehensive and unfettered investigation into COVID-19 origins is an absolute insult to the 15 million people who have died from this avoidable pandemic and their families. It puts us and future generations at unnecessary risk for the good of China and for the good of the world. Everyone must demand the kind of investigation that is absolutely required. And we have to have a process to learn the lessons of our failures to build a safer future for everyone.
Well said. We'll leave it at that. Jamie Metzl, thank you so much. Good to see you.
Nice to see you, my friend.